Hi everyone, today we welcome you to our first tutorial of the Angular series. In Angular series, we will be covering about different features of Angular. Today we will be covering introduction of the Angular. Now, why Angular? Angular is a single page framework. Before we had multi pages, we used to write multiple HTML pages and use JavaScript to develop dynamic web application. Now, disadvantage of that is when you have a slower network and less bandwidth, then it can cause problem. The advantage of single page application frameworks are that when you load a page, the entire application will be loaded at one go. So only when you load the application for the first time, it will be bit slower, but then on it will be super fast because it won't hit the server anymore. It will be loading directly from your already loaded pages. It will be just navigating, you will be navigating throughout the same page, just like you have been using Ajax to load certain portions of the pages earlier, but that would every time hit the server and all those things. But now once the entire page has been loaded, into all the features has been loaded, it will be just you will be navigating throughout the same page. So no hit to the server, and you have the advantage over the less bandwidth. Now let's take a look at Angular. Before you go into that, you have to first download Node.js. Come over to this site and download Node.js. Uh, We are currently using this LTS version, and add it to your path. Then go over here, Angular CLI. We won't be using Angular seed project, we'll be using Angular CLI, as this is just an introduction and it will help you. So as soon as you come over Angular CLI, after you have downloaded and set up the path for Node.js, just perform this one, npm install -g @angular CLI. What it will do, it will install Angular CLI client all over your system so that you can access Angular CLI from anywhere on your system. Now next step, create type this command on your command prompt, ng new, then your application name. So what we have done here, we have created a module, a project over here, Angular 4 intro. So we have typed ng new Angular 4 intro, and it has created all these things automatically. So as soon as you do this, it will create. Then you go inside that and type ng serve. We have already done this. You can see we have done ng serve. What it will do, it will start the Angular node server and it will serve the pages. So you can see that it has been listening on this port, localhost 4200. So we have started this. You can see that it has come up with this thing. So now let's take a look at what it has actually generated. So first of all, you have to take a look at this file. This is the entire project structure that has been generated. So you have to take a look at this package.json file. What does this file contains? This package.json file contains all the dependencies that you will be needing. If you need any more dependencies, you can just add over here and write npm install node package manager. Npm stands for node package manager. It will install that particular dependency in your project path and you can access it. You can see that it has scripts, several scripts over here. Ng stands for here Angular. Then start, if you write npm start, it will start the ng serve Angular node server. Then if you write ng build, it will actually build all your scripts what you have written, html and html css and typescripts, whatever you have written, it will build, and then you can use it in your any application. So next thing that you should be looking at, so after you're over with this, you can see over here that it has created a directory called node modules. So this is our library root actually. So whatever dependencies are there, it has come under this node modules. Then all our sources will go inside this src directory, and our actual project related code will go inside this app folder. So whatever you want, it will go inside this app folder, and any images, assets, images like thing will go inside this assets folder. One thing you can see that you have this main.ts file which is responsible for handling your entire application. Then you have this index.html file. This index.html file is the root HTML. This is the root HTML file where you can see that there is a bit of HTML, and you can see this there is something called app root. There is nothing called this tag in HTML. So what is this tag actually? This tag actually corresponds to a component, app component, that has been generated automatically by Angular. Now before we go into what is a component, let's take a look at other things bit. Let's go inside app. You can see there are several files. There is a file called app.module.ts. So this is generated automatically. This app.module.ts is responsible for bootstrapping, for starting our application, managing our entire application. Whatever the dependencies that you need, you will find all over here. So you can see over here declaration. In declaration, you can see that there is something called app component, and corresponding to that you have several files like app.component.ts, app.component.html, and app.component.css. This is the base component or the bootstrap component that is handling our entire application. So all our means our entire application will start from this app component. So next you can see there is something called imports. So whatever module that you will be needing, you can import over here. Since this is the mandatory one, browser module, then you can, there are several modules like forms module, router module, all those things can be imported over here. Then you have something called providers. It is used for something for services. Any service related thing goes into this providers, and bootstrap is responsible for bootstrapping your application. Now let's take a look at app.component.ts. What is this? Now what is a component? First of all, component in Angular means a particular feature which is responsible for controlling the view. View means what you will be seeing in your browser. Suppose here you are seeing this view. This view is controlled by this app component. So app component is responsible for controlling your view. Now you can see there is something called @component. This is annotated. Any class that is annotated with @component will be a component. This is a decorator. Here are some certain more things. Selector. This selector is the component's selector ID, which is responsible for tagging. You remember there was something in index.html which there was a tag called app root. So it is coming from here only. This tag is responsible for this component. Then there is something called template URL and style URL. This template URL is responsible for giving the view of this app component. So whatever in this is written inside this HTML will be displayed in your browser. And style URLs means whatever styles you are applying will be applied throughout this component only, not in any other views. So this component is responsible for showing you this view with this style. So let's take a look at this HTML. So you can see this is a bit of HTML that has been automatically generated. So whatever goes in here will be shown in your browser. So let us remove these things. One beautiful thing is that as soon as we have removed that thing, it will detect that we have removed that thing, and then it will be starting to reload. You can see there will be compilation here. It will be compilation will go on in the background, and then it will be reloaded automatically, and page will also be reloaded. Now one more important thing is that here you can see there is something called title. This title is a property of this component class which is being referenced over here. welcome to title. So whatever you write over here, this property is getting referenced in this HTML. So when you write welcome to this curly brackets then title, that property's value will come over here. So let us change this value and write to something. So we have written this. As soon as we have changed this, you should be able to see the changes over there in browser. It seems to have got hanged. Yeah, it's coming now. So you can see we have made changes over there. It has detected and loaded. So as soon as we go over here in browser, it has loaded with these changes. So whatever we made over there, it has come over here. So since we are diving into component, we'll create one component over here. You have to cd into that directory, then type ng, G for generate, short form of generate. Then you can write either component or C. C is the short form for component. We'll actually be designing an employee management system. So let's create a component called employee. You can see it has created. Okay, I've written mg. It should be ng. It will take a bit of time, so it will actually create a component over here. It will actually create a folder named employee, and then inside it will create several files: html, css, ts, and spec.ts. So you can see what are the files that has been created: employee.component.html, employee.component.ts, employee.component.css. So this will be responsible for showing the employee HTML view. Then for this one is for controlling the view, and this one is for the style. So you can see it has created a folder. Whenever you write here nggc, it will create a folder with the name of the component and with these files. So let's take a look at what is there in the HTML. It is just like employee works like this, and then you have in this ts similar thing which you had in app component with different, the name has only changed. So what is this is just like any class is a constructor, that same thing, constructor. And what is this ng on init? Ng on init is actually invoked by Angular when your component is first created. As soon as the component is first created, this ng on init will be called. So any, if you have any initialization logic, it should go over here. This is an initialization logic. So we'll be making one change over here. So you can see you have a selector called app employee. Let's refer to this over here and write app employee. So we have made these changes, and you should be able to see whatever view is tagged to this app employee component. So you can see it is compiling. It has detected the changes and it is compiling and it has been completed. So you should be able to see the output over here. You can see this has been added now, employee works. So with this, we come to the end of this tutorial. If you have any suggestions or any queries, post to our YouTube channel or Facebook page. And also don't forget to take a look at the code from our GitHub repository that we have created for this particular tutorial with Angular tutorial repository. We'll be posting this link in our YouTube. Thank you. Bye bye for today.